Welcome to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 506. My name is John Morgan, and cold coffee is with me from a few thousand miles away or whatever it is at this point on a post-Thanksgiving edition. I feel like it's been a while, man. It's weird. I mean, with no event over the weekend, and actually, I don't know, man. I actually did unplug for a couple days, which I rarely feel like get a chance to do. And yeah, man, I had a nice couple of days off, just chilled, hung out around the house, and yeah, I feel like it's been a while. How you doing, stranger?
Right, I'm doing good. I am sad for my counterparts and our fellow roadshow joinee Hot Tea. I'm looking on to the right where the award show is going on right now, and I see that Mr. Ariel Helwani won Journalist of the Year again.
Shocking!
Boo.
That is shocking. It's funny you mentioned
Shocking.
that. So should say, by the way, a lot of things that have happened over the last because we originally kind of wanted to try to figure out a way to get together on Wednesday night if we could. Nolan King, colleague, former colleague of mine, colleague of yours, of course, who was nominated for a World MMA Award. We wanted to get together with him. It was going to be a tough little schedule, right? Because you guys had a lengthy media day yesterday afternoon. You had, I believe, 18 athletes plus
19
plus Mikey Musumeci, right? 19 as well. Which
plus Mikey Musumeci.
Hey, but I will say this: Mikey delivered the goods, did he not? I mean, that man. That man.
He is an angry little man. It's so funny when you look at him. He is like the quintessential. Looks like this little nerd kid with glasses up there. But when you get him in a jiu-jitsu cage, he just yanks your leg
Savage.
off. But yeah, he was going hard on other users in the sports, that are dirty. He pretty much just said like everybody in jiu-jitsu is on steroids except for him and a couple others. But he went hard. But it was fun, like he's a funny kid, man.
He is a good kid.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So even though at first we were like, oh my gosh, there's already way too many UFC fighters, and now they're going to bring somebody from Fight Pass Invitational. And I felt kind of bad because when we were in New York, they tried bringing him, but he was sort of dragging his feet. He didn't get there in time, and I was just like, Koss. I was like, come on, man. Like, there's already too much. I was like, can't you just bring him to like, some event in Vegas or whatever?
And now you're trying to push back on that.
And then I was like, no, you can't bring him to this event. How about whatever? But no, the Fight Pass Invitational is tomorrow, so it makes sense that. No, it's actually right now. What's going on right now?
Yeah, so we were gonna get together. You guys had a lengthy day. Obviously, Nolan King. We love anytime we get a chance to get with Nolan.
Yeah,
King.
we wanted to bring him on. He's been listening to this show forever as well, and I know he's a big, fan of the show. It would have just been nice to have him on, to kind of show him some love since he's here in town. He never gets a chance to come to Vegas.
So we were trying to work that out.
But unfortunately,
he had some. But I mean, I don't know if I want to pull back the curtain, but he had like some tech issues, right? Is he struggling? Is he hurting?
Oh, he finally got one sort of like his work computer got locked out, so he couldn't get locked in. So he was trying to like use his personal computer while trying to reach out to USA Today to see if they could get the thing unlocked. And then his buttons stopped working and like started freezing up. And he was like, at the point, he's like, I have to go to like the Apple store or I'm not going to be able to work.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to have to let him use one of my computers. But he ended up getting in while we were there. He was able to get into the USA Today computer. So he's able to kind of do his work and stuff. So he's still got the other issue with his other laptop. So yeah, it just kind of threw it all out of whack. And then it was just like, let's just get tomorrow. And I knew that meant that we weren't going to be able to have Nolan on tonight. But yeah, just after yesterday, I know I was mentally dead. And I was like, there was a point I was like, as much as I wanted to try to do it after the Tuff-N-Uff gig that you were calling, I was like, let's just call it a day.
Well, I was going to say,
let's just do this tomorrow.
We owe Nolan one at some point because I love any chance we get a chance to chat with him. I always enjoyed working with him. So we owe him one. Yeah. But you're right. So that was the other part of it. Part of it was you guys were busy all day at the media day. And then the other part of it was essentially, basically, as soon as you guys were done, I was calling Tuff-N-Uff, which is normally on the weekend, but because this week was so busy and crazy, Tuff-N-Uff was actually on Wednesday night in Las Vegas at the Sahara Hotel. I will say, as somebody that has worked with Tuff-N-Uff for, going on 16 years now, I mean, I basically worked with them since I moved out to Las Vegas. Seeing their event listed on the official UFC PR schedule and like being part of the activities, I don't know, I had a little sense of pride in there. They've come a long way, man. You know, it used to be just a full amateur program. They've been promoting combat sports for 30 years. It started out as a kickboxing organization. I know you've seen a lot of their growth and what they've done. But that was, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it stood out to you. Obviously, you're not a part of the organization, but it looked cool to me to see Tuff-N-Uff on the UFC Fight Week PR schedule.
Yeah, it was like they invited their little brother to the show. You know, like they've been supporting them for so long. You know, and we'd always go watch some of their things. And like, again, you're much more involved with them, but you know, it was kind of neat that before they would have their events during fight weeks, and people would just try to make it over there. So it was nice to actually have the UFC give them so much love and be like, hey, you know, put it on there. Dana made a trip over there. You know, they have like security staff and sons of other coworkers fighting on it and stuff. So it's getting much more involved, and so good for them. I mean, the brothers that started that organization, you know, and then the Jeff's brother passed. I forget, Barry, passed some years past, you know. So the fact they were kind of able to keep it going and you know, still sort of thriving is really, really cool. And if anything else, you know, I felt like I thought that they were alluding that there may be some more news coming from them coming in the future. So who knows? But that's good things, man. You know, if they can keep tied with the UFC, that certainly can't be a bad thing for them, you know. So that was pretty cool. It's pretty cool they made it onto the PR schedule.
It was pretty cool. So if you guys want to go back and watch the replay, the prelims were on YouTube. I think they were on the actual UFC Fight Pass YouTube channel, which was cool. Sal Everett was the gentleman that you spoke of that was actually in the featured prelim. So Dana White and Hunter Campbell actually rolled in for that. He delivers with a 30-second knockout, gets the amateur title. So that was cool. And then, of course, the main card was over on UFC Fight Pass proper. I would recommend checking out. It was a good card. Jamie Siraj in the main event. Great story. A kid that, battled severe like health issues, like had like a brain infection and autoimmune disease, and like literally was like on his deathbed and fought back out of that and said like, I'm not giving up on this dream, and he had another win. He fought a really, really tough guy in Neymar Abdrashitov, who had a great opening round. He battled back, and anyway, really, really good fight. Worth checking out. I did have one of the something I've never seen. You know how many fights we've seen, whether it be on TV, whether it be cage side, whether it be calling fights, whatever it may be. And I had something I had never seen before. Octavian Trumbo, and it's funny because, you know, they always talk about don't put your feet in the cage, don't put your feet in the cage. And, you know, it's basically because, you know, they don't want you using your toes as grip, and the same thing, you know, you don't punch your fingers. You know, you can't do that. But I don't know if this was the genesis or even a thought process when that rule was added in there. I've just always assumed it's just because, they don't want you to use it for leverage and use it that way. But I've never seen this before. Octavian Trumbo was trying to lock up a triangle choke, and he put his foot in the cage, and it ripped his toenail off his big toe. Like, it clean off because it got, I guess, the way it hit the cage, and it just ripped the toenail off. Blood everywhere. Like, the toenail itself, as gross as that is, was literally like I actually had to tell the referee. It was actually Michael Bell was the referee, and I saw it come off. And between rounds, I was like trying to point to him like on the ground so he could go pick up the nasty toenail and get it. I mean, it's the entire big toenail. So we're not talking about like somebody just trimmed the end of it or off. No, we're talking about the whole thing. And I was like, Mike, right there. And he's just looking at me like, what? I'm like, it's underneath the U on the logo right there. I was like, it's his toenail. And he was just like, what? And he had to go throw that out. So it was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. That's nasty. So don't put your toes in the cage, not only because it's cheating and you might get warned for it, and you probably won't lose a point because they never take points for that, but you might just rip your toenail clean off, and I bet that don't feel too damn good.
Can you just wash it and just put it back on? Does it work
no, I don't think it does. I don't think it works that way. So anyway.
So what did he just fight through it?
Bro, he just kept fighting through it. I will say he did not throw in. So it was his right big toenail, and it went another 2 rounds after this. I will say, and the dude had a poker face. Like, he didn't show anything, but I will say when they were on the feet, he did not throw the right foot for any kicks anymore. He threw the left kick a couple of times. He didn't throw the right, which I don't know what that feels like, but it's got to hurt to just have it ripped off. There's blood everywhere. It's exposed. He was not throwing any kicks with that foot. I got to think it hurt like hell.
I can only imagine.
Nasty. So anyway,
That's gnarly.
that was rough. So we did that. So that was my day, and then today, obviously, I traveled out here. I'm actually in St. Louis. Mentioned a couple thousand miles away. I'm in St. Louis. Of course, you're home in Las Vegas. Kind of talked about the World MMA Awards we touched on, which has been fun because you and I have talked a little bit along the way. I've actually been working with the guys behind the scenes at the World MMA Awards, Rob Hewitt, leading into this, which has been fun because you know me, man. I've always been a big supporter of the awards. I always enjoy going. But this time, since I'm no longer really working with a media outlet anymore, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I'm like, I could probably help you with this if there's anything I can help do. And he's like, yeah, man, I'd love to, have you assist. And so I've been working with it, but was unable to actually go to the event. It was so bummed because I originally, when we were looking at dates, and I think it's fine to talk about this, when we were looking at dates and venues and all that, we were originally looking at Wednesday night in Las Vegas, and that was before Tuff-N-Uff was official. And so I was like, oh, cool, like I can definitely go on Wednesday night. I knew I had to be here in St. Louis because I've got CFFC match day tomorrow. And then when it got officially, he was like, nope, we're going to do Thursday. I was like, I'll be honest, I didn't tell him right away, like, oh, by the way, I can't go on Thursday. So we got all the way to the process.
Yeah.
But so anyway, World MMA Awards are going on. Basically, like I said, right now, I can't wait to, once we get done recording, I'm going to go watch it and kind of, I don't want to say the fruits of the labor. I don't deserve any of that credit. I didn't help with the production side of it, but I at least want to watch it. I always enjoy being there. And then, like you said, the Fight Pass Invitational is going on as well, so I'm going to watch that. So a lot of stuff to watch in the background as I get ready.
A lot of stuff going on. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I am gonna pull up the Fight Pass, I think, after the fact and try to watch that Musumichi. Musumichi grab.
Listen, man, he is incredibly talented. If you didn't watch much of him in one championship, he is very, very talented. And he's fun, like you said. He's quirky. You know what I mean? He's really marketable. He's not afraid to be a little bit outspoken. I like what he talked about. The fact that he really wants to make it a profession and to make it better than it is. And man, I mean, honestly, the UFC, Dana White has come out and said it. They're making a big charge in jiu-jitsu. I don't know how many people are into the pure grappling side of things. I know that. I used to really like I talked a lot about one championship, how I loved what they were doing, where it was like, we got a little bit of MMA, we got the world's best Muay Thai, we got the world's best kickboxers, we got the world's best grapplers. But I got to be honest with you, more often than not, I heard people that were like, yeah, the grappling matches don't do it for me. And I was like, really? Like, I like seeing high-level grappling. So, I don't know. I'm going to be interested to see how it's received because, me, I love high-level grappling. I enjoy the heck out of it. And with the UFC's, branding and marketing skills and all that they have behind it, obviously they can do wonderful things. I know there's talk about a reality show coming up, and I don't know. It's just going to be interesting to see what they do. I mean, did you get any hint of it? I know we're not there. Again, we're talking right now instead of being at the Fight Pass Invitational right now, but did you get any hint of it either from Mikey or around anything else or about – because I don't think we fully understand what the total vision is right now. We just know that the UFC is jumping into it.
Yeah, no, and I don't think he did as well. I mean, I think for the most part, everybody was just sort of letting him sort of have his way, and they were talking just about the state of grappling, not so much as for like the UFC's involvement. But it is interesting to see, this is kind of the first, kind of like with Callum Walsh. Callum Walsh, how Dana, that was the guy that Dana's like, all right, well, if I'm going to start getting into boxing, I need somebody to kind of be that person, and Mikey is that person when it comes to grappling. I mean, they've had involvement with, the Fight Pass world has had involvement with Craig Jones and Eddie Bravo and all these other guys using that platform. But for them to really, find somebody and really start to help build like what seems to be like a grappling based roster to, use on these Fight Pass invitationals, and let alone if they use them on shows or other kind of stuff, definitely bodes well, because I think, what we saw with like Craig Jones Invitation and other stuff, that there is money to be made if you promote it the right way and you actually bring eyeballs to it, and it just brings more sport, more viewers to the overall sports. Because, if they're willing to watch grappling, and if they're into grappling, more than likely, if they don't already watch MMA, more than likely they do, right, that it does bring a potential new viewer, so they're trying to grow it in different areas, and Fight Pass, it's 24/7 now. So, like the channel always needs content. So the fact they're going more in on it, is pretty interesting. But yeah, it definitely, grappling, I think, will always be a diehard thing to watch. You either like grappling or you don't like grappling. You know, people that watch MMA because of the striking, unless they have either, you know, dived further into the sport, have either tried to do some bit of the sport itself, a lot of them maybe never will turn on and become like huge grappling fans, because to them, they want to see the knockouts. You know, like boxing fans, you know, while we might think that, you know, yes, it's easy to convert them to watch MMA, getting them to watch grappling is going to be a tougher lift. But, you know, it'd be interesting to see if they could come up with ways to make people to look at grappling in a different light, maybe with some of these shows, maybe like the reality shows, or, you know, like if there was a grappling based sort of like Ultimate Fighter, maybe if they see the personalities of the people that are doing the sport, maybe more people will want to turn into it, you know, and tune into it and see what it is. So it'd be interesting to see. But I still think that, you know, it's definitely, you know, its coverage on Fight Pass is definitely, it's going to be the diehards watching it and the people that are actually fans in the grappling. But I think there is a huge base out there that appreciates grappling. They just probably never had a avenue to really just partake in more and more of this stuff, because you either have to go to an event to watch an event, or in the rarity that somebody actually broadcasts an event, that's the only way they can get it. So the fact that the UFC is trying to step up and say, we know there's a market there and these people aren't being served enough content, let's bring that to them, you know. So, you know, Dana and those guys, you know, have always been pretty smart in, you know, getting into these avenues and finding ways to, you know, give the market what it needs. You know, is Power Slap one of those ventures? Some people might say yes, others might say, I don't know, you know. But again, that was another attempt where they saw that there was a sport, that there were people out there watching it, and they took a huge leap in it. And if you get Dana talking about the social media numbers, that dude lights up.
Oh man.
And there's definitely something about, like, you know, you could tell he's passionate about it, but I mean, like, it's more than just a guy trying to sell a product. He is literally,
he's fired up about it.
He's fired up. He's literally been blown away by the numbers. And if anything else, you know, like, you could tell, like, he's not just selling it. Like, you could see when somebody like Don Davis, some of these guys, when they sell like the PFL product, you could tell they're selling it, because it's just like, You're like, I don't even know if I can believe what you're saying. But when you hear Dana talk about the Fight Pass, I mean, of course, a lot of people want to look at the numbers and say, or about, you know, Power Slap, and say, oh, I don't know if I believe those numbers. But I've seen some clips. They do have crazy numbers.
The numbers are verifiable. So, the numbers are the numbers.
The numbers are verifiable, yeah. So, you know,
you can argue what they mean. You know what I mean? You can argue what they mean or what impact they have or whatever, but the numbers are the numbers.
But they're real, you know. So they've always been good in finding these little things. So if they're feeling that right now is the time to jump into grappling, there's probably something to it.
I agree.
These guys do a lot of research behind markets and kind of where things are going. So maybe they just recognize it as there's a market out there that's being underserved right now, and they want to step into it. And this Mikey guy is he's definitely, you know, he's a character, and it's not just him. Like when you see like Craig Jones get up there, definitely a character that you know, a lot of people either love him or they hate him, you know. Same with Gordon Ryan. They either love him or they hate him, but they're these galvanizing characters where people just are either drawn to him, and it creates a whole swarm.
But that's what you need.
Just like,
that's what you need, right? You don't want apathy. You want love or hate. Either way, they're just opposite sides of the same coin, and you want that coin. You know what I mean? So
you're either tuning in to watch them win, or you're tuning in to watch them lose.
I'm telling you, man.
Know?
So
it'd be interesting.
It really is. I'm kind of interested to see what they do with it. So number one, Mikey Musumeci did mention a couple of he was asked who else he would like to see. Really, the only ones he offered were the Ruotolo brothers, but those are good ones. You know what I mean? I'd love to see the Ruotolo brothers
because they're clean fighters like him.
Because they're clean.
Because I remember at one point when he was like, they're all on steroids, and I was like, he cannot clearly be talking about the Ruotolo boys,
right?
And then when he started saying like, no, I want that Kamara, I was like, okay, good. We don't need to ask the clarifying question.
Those guys are talented, they're charismatic, they're young, they're cool, they get that X factor, like they're just cool dudes, you know what I mean? And they're very skilled. So I'd love to see it. So they're
gonna draw the like-minded young kids into the sport. They are perfect spokespersons for the sport.
100%.
They're like you said, they're young, they're energetic, and they're absolute badasses.
They're badasses.
You know? It's just like and they're close enough to where kids in high school and other stuff can look and see something of themselves in them, and that's what you want to be like the face of these sports. You know, you want to see these characters that they're like, wow, that kid looks like me. they look different. They look like me, but they're not huge. They're not these Hulk, football athletes, where a lot of time people look at some of the athletes in other sports and like, I can't do that. I'll never look like that. But you look at these guys and like, oh shit,
yeah,
maybe I can.
Exactly,
maybe I can.
They're cool. So that's a good. Here's the other thing I'm interested to see though. So Claudia Gadelha, we know, is in charge of the grappling, right? She's kind of the executive that they put in charge of it. And I know she comes from a very traditional jiu-jitsu background. I don't know if that impacts how she thinks about this. I want to see if they adapt the pit. The Craig Jones Invitational. I feel like I feel like that was universally loved or appreciated. I didn't hear much negative feedback about it, and I found it exciting. But here's the weird thing is I don't know if Craig Jones, like, does Karate Combat have, like, did he have to get permission from Karate Combat because they kind of invented that, or have they trademarked it, or can you even trademark a pit? And let me take it to the next level. Karate Combat has been airing some events on UFC Fight Pass. Now, I don't know what their relationship is. I don't know if that's just like Karate Combat saying, hey, we'll give you this footage free if you'll air it, or I don't know if I don't know what their deal is with that, because I haven't seen any real like formal marketing partnerships or announcements. So I don't know if there are barriers to using a pit, or if they would even want to use the pit. They may feel that a pit is too gimmicky and they don't like it, but to be honest with you, even as a hardcore grappling fan, and I can see somebody that's very much a traditionalist, they would be like, well, that's not the surface it's supposed to be competed on, and it makes for awkward exchanges, but it keeps the action going, right? You don't have those where you have to stop it because you're on the edge, and
I was just watching it before we got on the call here, and literally I saw 4 to 5 stops.
Yeah.
The refs has to hold. Let me memorize the whole position that we have right here so that I can move you to the center and restart it. If you can alleviate some of that, they need to do that.
I agree.
Those stops in action it's abysmal. I mean, I get it what they're trying to do, but they were rolling into a camera guy that was sitting on the ground. They rolling into like TVs that are set up. It's not ideal. It definitely, when you watch them right now, it looks like a work in progress, and I think they'll probably address that. But yes, whether it's the slanted sides to kind of keep them in, maybe if there's a hybrid between the two, if they want to find some way to make it still like the normal surface, where it's even, but they got to do something. Like, you can't have all the breaks in action that they're having right now, and you can't have your competitors rolling to a camera position, which, if you're grappling hard and your back hits a lens on a camera, I mean, I'm not just going to worry about whether the lens is breaking, but I mean, that can jab into your back and actually hurt your back. I mean, like, they got to think of the athlete safety as well. And I think whether it be the slanted sides, I think it's a great idea.
I do too.
I don't think that it's trademarked. Maybe if you called it the pit and had the slanted, then they'd be like, hey, that's kind of what we have.
This is the bowl.
No,
yours is a pit. Ours is a bowl. You see, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Yours is like a 45-degree angle. This is like 43. You know what I mean? They're nothing alike at all. At all.
And then they could just get some acai sponsorship to come in there and then call it the
bowl.
But yeah, they need to do something.
There. Look at the business mind.
Take that, Dana. You can have that one. We just want free acai bowls when we come to watch. But yeah, they got to do something. I literally was. It's so funny that I knew that we were going to eventually talk about it. But yeah, I was watching that and I was like, this is like the third stoppage just in like the overtime.
Yep.
And it's just like, this is ridiculous. It's killing the action. And then you got people complaining that it wasn't the exact right way that they had it. And
because it's impossible.
Slant or whatever.
It's impossible to recreate it. And
I'm literally making you separate and then walk over and then trying to put you together. It's not.
I mean, we used to see that even in like Japan with Pride with the ropes in the ring, right? And they would drag people to the middle. And like, bro, if you're in a bad position, like, you're definitely trying to adjust your position a little bit. Like, was your arm there? Or was it here? I felt like it was more over here. Was it? No, it definitely wasn't. It definitely wasn't. So, yeah, I agree. So it's it'll be interesting to see what they do. We'll definitely.
I was on the bottom. I swear I was on the top.
I'm pretty sure I was on my hip. I'm pretty sure, like, you weren't, sir. But yeah, no. So it'll be interesting to see where they go with that. It's cool. Look, I like to see it. It leads into what we're doing tomorrow, right? Like, I'm here in St. Louis because I'm going to get to call I'm really excited about tomorrow. So, I've been with CFFC Match Day, our Division I wrestling program. I've been doing a lot of the behind the scenes with the graphics, which has been really fun. I've been building the graphics packages. If you've been watching any of it, like a lot of the stuff that we've done has been kind of my concept and my execution, which has been fun. I've enjoyed that. It's something new for me to do. I've done a little bit of commentary, kind of filling in here and there, and tomorrow is one of those days where I get to do it, which I'm excited about. And as I was telling you, the really cool part about it is our buddy Justin James is here with me, right? We were looking for options.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we were looking for options, and I just threw his name out. I was like, listen, he did wrestle in college. I mean, it was Division III, so I'm not trying to pretend like, he was a national champion. I was like, but I've worked commentary with him, and he does commentary. He did fight in the UFC. He did wrestle in college, and he is a fun commentator as well. He's high energy, and that's kind of what we're looking for. I was like, I'd love to give him a chance if we can, because they're kind of asking who I wanted to work with, and I'm like, if we can give him a shot, like I've enjoyed working MMA with him. I think it'd be fun for college wrestling. They said, look, if that's what you want to do it. So Justin's out here. So it's the first time him and I have worked together under the CFFC banner. So I'm excited about that. But bro, it's Iowa. Like, it's the number 2 ranked program in the nation right now. They have 5 returning All-Americans. Now, mind you, if you've never seen a college wrestling matchup, you only have 10 weight classes. 5 of them are returning All-Americans for Iowa. I mean, they are loaded. They're facing. They got to wrestle twice in the day. They're facing Princeton. They're facing Army. Obviously, Princeton and Army both have some very, very talented athletes and very, very talented wrestlers as well. I mean, Iowa's not going to win every match, but they're going to win a lot of the matches, and I mean, that's just the reality of it. But I feel like, I don't know, man. To me, like, I love doing commentary, and I always do. Like, I fully embrace it. If you watch me do any Division I college wrestling, I will never try to pretend like I'm the expert. Like, I used to hate that with MMA, when people kind of come into the MMA world and pretend like all of a sudden like they knew everything about the sport. Like, come on, man, you haven't been here. No, you don't. So I'll never try to pretend like I know everything about it. But obviously, I'm learning it. I'm enjoying it, and to get to call Iowa, I mean, that's like, it's like I wrote in the preview for it. I call it's NCAA wrestling royalty. You know what I mean? Like, it's royalty. Yeah. So I'm excited about this.
Yeah, it's legit. I mean, like, even a lot of the teams that you've done, I mean, are in like the top 20, because you were just at Cornell recently, right?
Well, we had Princeton in there. We didn't get Cornell yet. We had Rutgers in. That's probably, I bet you were confused with Rutgers and Cornell, maybe.
Okay, maybe it was Rutgers.
We did.
But even looking at Rutgers is, I pulled up the rankings. Rutgers is 17th. Yep. Iowa's 2. Penn State, obviously, number 1. My Ohio State and number 5. But I mean, like, I was legit. Yeah, I mean, like, that's a great program. I don't know why I was thinking, I thought you were at Cornell recently. But Cornell was going to say number 11. I mean, like, these are legit organizations that you guys are dealing with. But yeah, I mean, like, Penn State would be a hard get. But I mean, like, you've gotten the second biggest team that there is right now that just demolishes people.
It's amazing.
They're really, really
and
impressive.
This is just our second season of CFFC Match Day. So I'm excited to see where the future holds and where we go from here. And there's some great dates coming up. So definitely, if you're hanging out tomorrow or today, whatever it is, Friday, depending on when you're listening to this, if you can check it out, do check it out. It's fun. And like I said, me and Justin Chain, so should be a good time doing that. So
that's cool. Yeah. I'm glad that you guys get to use it by there. That's awesome.
We were actually, it's funny, we just before we sat down and did this, we were actually grabbing a quick little dinner and beer together, and the program came up about training you guys, and obviously you and Oscar, and you guys got to spend a lot of time with them, getting ready, going through a training camp.
Yep. No. Yeah. And it even get, and I think I respected his career within the UFC and just what he had been fighting elsewhere. But yeah, that's what really, really opened my eyes to what a nice guy he was dealing with him, watching a bunch of us hacks go out there and try to learn some MMA skills without him just laughing the whole time. So I was like, he earned my respect quite a bit from not, just dying of laughter watching us try to do our things. But yeah, he's a good dude. So yeah, I'm glad you guys are getting to use him, man. He's a really, really nice guy, and he deserves some good breaks. So that's pretty cool.
I'm looking forward to it. By the way, I should say, as we're recording this, things are going on in the background. The Lifetime Achievement Award at the World MMA Awards just handed out to Mark Coleman of the Ohio State University. Man, the first NCAA Division I All-American to compete in the UFC was Mark Coleman. So, I mean, he holds that distinction of being
awesome.
So it came for that. And then the story goes he actually – or I shouldn't say Division I All-American. I should say apologize. I cut him short there. Division I champion. The first NCAA Division I champion. I believe Severn may have been the first All-American, but Coleman was the very first champion to step in there. And, of course, he went back and coached for a while at Ohio State, and that's when he got Kevin Randleman into his own. Kevin Randleman was a two-time NCAA champion. So
yeah, I was going to say, because there's a difference, and wrestlers will tell you this. All-American are badasses.
Yes.
All-American is like everybody wants to be the All-American. Everyone's like, oh, All-American. National champion is a whole nother level. Like they, and it's going to sound terrible when I say it like this. Like All-American is a runner-up title compared to like national champion. Like that's everybody strives to be the All-American, but like very few ever make it to national champion level, and it's so tough. And particularly in wrestling, like when you hear somebody that says that they were a national champion wrestler, and let alone at a D1 school, D2 schools, D3 schools, they're all good schools, but D1, if you make it a national champion on a D1 program in wrestling, that mofo is a badass. Yep. But that being said, All-Americans are badass as well. I don't want to make it sound like All-Americans are not badass.
If you're an All-American,
but national champion's a whole nother level.
If you're the champ, that's insane. And so Mark Coleman was the first to have that distinction to come to the UFC, and obviously the Godfather ground and pound. And we know, his battles with addiction that he's had, and obviously the amazing story about saving his parents, and it's funny like putting things together for this award. I'm actually anxious to see. So I was actually kind of helping with notes and stuff for Rob Hewitt's speech, just making sure we were going over some facts and figures and make sure things to include. And I will say, kind of reviewing Mark's career, pretty amazing. Within a 6-year span, he had won multiple. He had won the first UFC championship, heavyweight championship, I should say, and then he won the Pride Grand Prix as well within the first 6 years of his career, which is astounding. I mean, the run he had was amazing, but. One thing that I put in there, and I'm anxious to see if Rob Hewitt was able to include it in the speech, but I did make sure to point out that when he says Ohio State University, it should be the Ohio State University. I put it in all caps. I'm like, it's the Ohio State University. So a little tip to the cap for you, sir, and the rest of your Buckeye faithful. I did make sure that he put the.
We need it. We had a rough week last week, so we need it. We need some love. We lost to Michigan, and
I saw that. I was actually watching most of that game
in the playoffs.
Yeah, I was watching most of that game.
It made me sick, but yeah, we don't need to go.
We don't need to talk about. All right, well, let's get a little.
Fabiano, the translator, has been throwing that in my face, and I was like, Fabiano, I was telling people you were a nice guy. He was singing "Hail to the Victors," like the Michigan fight song the other day. I was like, I'm going to.
Did he go to Michigan?
No, he just wanted to give me shit. He's like a Penn State guy. So when we beat Penn State, I didn't say anything. I maintained and stayed the bigger guy. But as soon as I saw him, I knew he was going to say something. And he starts just like singing, blah, 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 doing the fight. I was like, oh, just giving him the finger. I was like, I thought you were a nice guy. And then I saw him today again, and he started bringing it up again. I was like, don't talk.
I knew he was a football. I know he loves football. I didn't know.
Oh, he loves it. Yeah, he's a big college football fan. He's a big pro football fan. But yeah, I mean, I know it was weird because I remember Notre Dame. He was rooting for Notre Dame, so I don't know if he has ties to them, but he was rooting for Penn State, and then of course he was just rooting against Ohio State with Michigan. He just wanted to throw that in my face, but I was like, oh,
that's mean,
Fabiano. That's mean. You're so mean.
All right, well listen,
like, he doesn't.
you need a palate cleanse right now. You need to cheer up after feeling that. If there's ever a human being that could do that for you, that would not be mean to you, that would never sing Michigan's fight song to you, it is Chase Hooper, one of the nicest dudes in the sport. Yes. He has got a great matchup coming up, of course, at UFC 310, which we're going to get into. He's facing Clay Guida there. It's a rematch, of course, of a grappling bat that took place under the CFFC umbrella at Fury Professional Grappling. And I had a chance to catch up with him before I headed out of town and spoke to Chase Hooper. Here's that interview now. Chase Hooper back in action, UFC 310, Saturday, December 7th. First time at T-Mobile Arena since your debut, right? Yeah. 5 years later, can we look back and say how crazy of an experience that must have been? I mean, I know everybody says they're not nervous and they're good, but that had to be wild for you.
Honestly, that was the only fight I've really ever had where I couldn't care less. I was like, just as far as like the outcome, I guess, I was like, I don't care if I win or lose. I made it to the UFC. I was like, if I lose, I can just, delete all my social media, whatever. I still did it. I still made it to UFC at 20 years old. But yeah, I mean, it's full circle here 10 fights later. And yeah, I'm excited to put on a show.
I was going to ask you, I mean, looking back then to where you are now, I mean, you got in so early, right? I mean, can you look back and say, like, where you were? Like, did you – I mean, was it too early for you? Do you feel like it would have been better, or are you happy the way things played out?
No, it's one of those things where you don't get to choose your opportunity. Like, I feel, the opportunity to fight for UFC, the opportunity that I got on Contender, like, you don't get to choose when you get that. So you got to take what you're given. And, no, I feel like there's also an adjustment period, too, of being in the UFC, like going from fighting at the local – Fight Pass shows, maybe CFFC, or fighting even at just like a local casino, whatever. It's so much different going from there to fighting in T-Mobile, to fighting, the Gila River Arena like I did in Phoenix. It's such a just big step up that I think it's hard to adjust. And then the competition level, like it's so hard to adjust to that. And I think, you just need time. Like look at some of the greats, and that was really what helped me is like Max Holloway. 3-3 his first 6 UFC fights. Charles Oliveira 10-10 his first, 5-5 his first 10 UFC fights. So it's just these guys that, some of the legends of the sport, some of the best that are working right now, had a rough start. I'm not saying I had the same opponents as them, but it just goes to show that like there is an adjustment period, and honestly, I'm thankful for it. Even honestly, the Apex shows here like helped. Kind of bring the level down just a little bit. And then, for the St. Louis card in May, I felt amped. I was excited to go back in front of a crowd instead of feeling extra pressure. And I'm honestly feeling the same way about being back here at T-Mobile.
It's awesome, man. So what do you think the biggest adjustment has been, right? Because you laid out that path. You kind of had a similar path, right?
Yeah.
A couple mixed results, but now everything seems to be clicking. Everybody's praising your evolution of striking, kind of where you are. So what do you think the biggest growth has been? Has it been technique? Has it been mentality? What has been the biggest adjustment?
No, I think the technique's always obviously going up. You're always getting better just by training. It's been 5 years, so I've got 5 years more experience, 5 years more training. I'm obviously going to be better. But I feel like a lot of it was mental. Like, so many of my early fights, even amateur, like, I felt like I was getting walked to, like, an execution, like, when I was walking out to the fight. I was, like, just scared stiff, like, white-knuckling. And then, like, the last probably, honestly, the last 4 or 5 fights, I started getting into the sports psychology side of stuff, just trying to make it easier on myself mentally instead of just freaking out and like being able to kind of use that energy a little bit. And honestly, just kind of shifting my mentality of not so much being like, okay, I have a fight, like I'm fighting this guy. Be like, okay, I'm going to compete against this guy. Like little dumb stuff like that makes a difference in your head where you're thinking about a fist fight or it's like, oh, I'm just going to go in and compete on Saturday. Like I think that's, that's been a big part, and it's kind of really helped my mentality and it's helped make my life a little easier.
I love it, man. All right, well, you got a familiar opponent this weekend in Clay Guida, right? Obviously, you recall the grappling match.
Yeah.
What did you think when you got the call? They're like, hey, this is the guy they want you to fight.
I think I really see why UFC wanted to make this matchup. Like, it's such a fun, clash of styles, and they love doing the young guy versus the older veteran. It's cool to be fighting a Hall of Famer. He's a wrestler. I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. He's got a crazy style on the feet. As durable as they come. There's so many things to respect about Clay. I would say, I beat him in a grappling match, but, he's forced to grapple in that. Like in MMA, you got so many different options, and you're not so forced into these grappling scenarios that you might not be, in the cage. So I think it's just really like trying not to be thinking of it as a foregone conclusion. Like, he's still a dog. He's in the Hall of Fame for a reason. This is what he's got 36 fights in the UFC. I want to say. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty confident it's around that number. He's been a pro since I was 3 years old. He's been in UFC since I was 7. Like, he knows what he's doing. So I got to respect him. But I think it's a very winnable matchup, and I think I can really show off some of the new stuff we've been working, and a different style than the last guy that I fought, and. Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I fought a stocky wrestler, so yeah, I'm excited for it.
You talk about the psychology of it. Does a 2-year-old grappling match have any impact on an MMA fight in the UFC? I mean, do you go out there a little bit going like, yeah, you know what happened last time we crossed paths?
I mean, I think it'll probably affect him more than it will me, as far as just knowing, like, okay, I actually do have to be worried about the grappling. And in that match, there was no heel hooks, not necessarily saying I'm going to heel hook him, but, you know, you got to be worried about the legs. They're such a big part of the grappling game now. No, I think that just gives him more to worry about. Like, he can't be confident and like, okay, you know, I can out-grapple this kid. You know, so, yeah, we'll see if he beats me up on the feet or not. But if I'm doing my job, it'll hopefully be a very Michael Chandler, Charles Oliveira-esque.
You've got a lot of time on your side, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you really do. But does this feel like a big moment for you? I mean, this is a huge pay-per-view. As you said, a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
You've got this win streak together now that I think, you know, you win a fight like this, people start really talking about, okay, that kid we looked at, now he's starting to be there. I mean, does this feel like a big moment for you?
There's so many big pieces that are coming together, like my 10th fight with the company. We're making it to double digits. You know, I never thought I would do that. Back at the same arena where I made my UFC debut, fighting a Hall of Famer, you know, like, again, on a win streak. It's really, yeah, like, it's there's a lot of big pieces that are coming into place, and it's on me to get the win here on Saturday and, you know, keep it moving forward. But yeah, no, life is good here in the UFC. Like, I'm settling in, and again, like, I think some of the pieces are starting to come together, and hopefully they will on Saturday.
It's funny to hear you talk about your mentality. Like, when you got to the UFC, like, did you not have long-term goals? I mean, you were like, well, if I lose and I'm out, it's fine or whatever. You know, I mean, did you not have, like, a long-term goal?
I mean, it's one of those things where you're like, I don't know how good I am. It's the imposter syndrome. It's like, because that pool is infinitely deep. You know, I was in the same division as Max Holloway and Volkanovski. I watched their title fight after my debut. You know, so that's crazy to look at as a 20-year-old kid making your UFC debut. Like, I knew I was good, but it's also, like, just the pressure is hard to deal with at that age. And, like, you know, the fans, you know, they used to get to me, people, like, talking trash on social media. You know, yeah, it was just a pressure thing. And I was like, I don't really know if I love this. Like, and then you get the feeling of winning, and you're like, this is pretty good. And then you lose, and you're like, damn, I need to get back in there. I need to get another one. So it's like, it was just realizing, like, okay, regardless, I still want to do this, whether I won or lost. But, you know, I feel like I've at least went into a lot of my fights with the mentality of, like, if I lose this one, like, I'm not going to have a job. I'm going to have to find, you know, another line of work. So, I don't know. I just tried not to. This game is so cutthroat. You know, you never really know. Like, I don't know what's going to happen after this fight. I don't know what's going to happen 2 fights down the road, just like I didn't, you know, back when I was starting. So I try not to base my life off of it, because you really can't. It's just taking it fight by fight.
Is the love there now, though, or is it kind of a love-hate thing?
Yeah, I remember, honestly, it was during one of the early COVID shows, because we were all at that little hotel that the UFC rented out the whole thing, whatever. Paul Felder was, like, going for a run around the little hotel campus, and he was it was fight day. He was like, hey, have fun out there tonight, kid. And I was like, I don't know what you mean by that, but I appreciate it. I was like, I don't know how to have fun doing this. But no, now I think I'm settling in, and, like, I'm excited. Like, I'm excited to fight. I'm excited to perform in front of a crowd and you know, put on a show in front of T-Mobile. And, like, it's just been, you know, maturing as far as that goes, and maybe taking the ego out of it a little bit, not being so scared. Like, the people that really care and the people that really matter, like my wife, my coach, my family, my friends, like, they don't care whether I win or lose. Like, they're just happy you're okay. So it's, you know, getting back to the basics, you know, bringing it down to earth a little bit.
I love it, man. It's great. I'd say, well, last thing for me, man, I mean, like, on paper, this looks like it's a pretty exciting matchup. I mean, You mentioned Oliveira Chandler. Is that, I mean, are you expecting a kind of back-and-forth battle? You know, Guida's got that gas tank that never quits. I mean, are you expecting to have to go deep in this one? I
mean, yeah, I've been sleeping in an altitude tent. I've been pushing the cardio all camp. You know, that's been my goal. I'm here for 15 minutes or, you know, 5. I'm here for 15 seconds, whatever it takes. We're, you know, hopefully going to keep up with that pace. Let's find out Saturday.
All right, appreciate Chase Hooper there giving me some time. That was on Tuesday, literally just when he came into town. Obviously, I had so much going on Wednesday and then had to fly, but like literally just when he came into town, came straight from the airport to the Apex, did all of his stuff, and then had a few minutes for me. And I appreciate him having some time. And I just appreciate his candor and his honesty, man. I mean, he started at the UFC so young. And just to talk about that journey and to be open and honest about the struggles and the imposter syndrome, right? That people have, you know what I mean? That you're that young and you're there and battling that, but now kind of feeling like he's really coming into his own. I don't know. I like that honesty. That's the stuff that I like to talk about. I don't do as many interviews as I used to. I'm not in the media days, as you remind me, as often as you can, as much as I used to be. Hopefully I'll have some more next year. But I don't know. I love.
Hopefully. That's funny. There's a whole year of possible media day, and you're like, I hope to make it to some media days next year.
Couple. We'll see. Hopefully, we'll see. We're still look. You know that for the last year I've been moving things around and sorting things and doing things, and I got a vision. It's just taking time for it all to come together, but I got a vision. So appreciate Chase Hooper for doing that. All right, we are getting into UFC 310. You were there for the lengthy media day. I did watch a lot of it. I'll be honest with you. I didn't get to see all of it, but I watched a lot of it. Just want to get some of your initial takes. First of all, so I was at the Apex on Tuesday when I was doing the interview. I talked to Michael Chiesa as well. I put that out for Grind City Media. Hopefully you get a chance to check that out. And then I spoke to Chase Hooper for us. And was kind of hanging out during the day and seeing people walk through and whatever, because I was just kind of, working on some other stuff, whatever. I will say this, and I don't know what you thought. I saw Kai Asakura in person for the first time. I've watched him fight, of course. He is very exciting. He also has that X factor. He's got that coolness to him. But the thing that struck me, and I don't know if it struck you, he is not a small dude like that.
Yeah.
And I know that
he's big.
And I know we're all just. And by the time most people listen to this, it'll probably already be done, and so it'll be a moot point at that point. But I'm just gonna say it because it crossed my mind. We talked about it. It's been a long time since he's made flyweight. He's been fighting at bantamweight over in Japan. He has made flyweight in the past. I fully believe he'll make it 100%. He's had plenty of notice. He's had a lot of time. It's not like this is a late notice thing. So I'm not concerned that he won't make weight. But I am just a little bit interested to see how it impacts him, because that was just my first impression when I saw him walk by. I'm like, that is not a small flyweight by any stretch of the imagination.
He's huge.
Yep.
He's huge. And, for them to do a press conference so late in the day, like today, like they did, we got out of there, after 5 o'clock, whatever. And then to have them be weighing in, roughly 14 hours after that point, they didn't do him any favors. Like he should be cutting right now. And he looked happy, boisterous, full of energy at the press conference. That's typically not what somebody looks like when they're struggling to cut weight. So if he's not struggling and he just still looks huge and he's looking like that, then man, he's going to be something. But if he's carrying a whole lot of weight that he thinks that he's just going to easily get off in the next 14 hours or whatever, it's going to be scary. It's going to be scary. He is huge when they stood opposite each other. But even when he just came into the room on Tuesday, I was like, how in the heck can this guy make 125?
I'm so glad you feel that way, because that was literally my first spread. He was 2 feet in front of me. He was with his crew. He was walking, getting a little high or whatever. And I was just like, damn.
He's so big, he looks like he would struggle to get to bantamweight. Right? And then to think you got to go 10 pounds more to that, he is every bit as big as one of the bigger featherweights. I mean, I would say I could see where, but when you look at some of the lightweights, it's not like they're giant people, but he's got the height. He's just not as thick as some of the other guys, but man, he's a big kid, man. But for those, I mean, if he does do the weight cut, no problem, and he still has that same sort of energy, boy, I'm going to really wonder how things are going to go. Because, I mean, I think Pantoja's going to Pantoja like what he always does, man. He just grinds, and what you're going to get through 5 rounds. He's going to push that pace. If Asakura is, depleted because this cut's going to be hard, I think it's going to go. And, Alexandre's favor. But man, if he's able to shuck that weight off and look as happy and energetic as he is, I might be a little worried about, Pantoja, fighting a bigger guy that's able to kind of do, just be that's that much bigger. He just looks ginormous compared to him. But man, I'm interested. I'm interested to see. It's been a while since I've watched one of Asakura's fights. I think last time I've seen stuff was just highlights, but it's always good shit when you see the highlights. But it'd be interesting. Pantoja hasn't. After watching the last couple times fight, he hasn't given me a reason to doubt him. And then to have Asakura come in. Maybe if it was somebody I'd seen more recently, I'd maybe have a better understanding to maybe doubt Pantoja, but I just don't have doubt.
Nah.
I got to you got to give me a reason to not give the champ,
Pantoja's
respect.
Pantoja's definitely the pick here. He's the favorite for a reason. He's definitely the pick. But Kai Sakura is dangerous. I like the fact that, Pantoja, I like the fact that Pantoja's given him a lot of respect. Obviously, Kasakura did beat his teammate Kyoji Horiguchi, and so there's that link there, and I think there's a reason he's given respect. But I think Pantoja's the right pick here, but I think it will be exciting, especially early on. It's going to be very exciting on the feet, so I'm excited for that. So I want to get your take because, look, just being honest, you were at the press conference today. I was not, but from what I could gather.
There were.
Wow, that's what I was.
Not a lot of people were there.
That's what I was gonna say. So there were not a lot of people at that press conference, and I get it. This is that weird time in Vegas where it's just the holiday time. It's not a big travel time for Las Vegas, right? And this is a weird time for anybody. Even a fight fan. You just got through with Thanksgiving, so you might have traveled for family. You got Christmas coming up, so maybe you don't have money. So there's those things. But I want to get your take on this card because it's really interesting. Obviously, I used to live entirely in the bubble, all day, 24/7. I never even saw outside of the bubble. So every opinion I heard was this echo chamber of the MMA bubble. Now, my life is in the bubble, but outside as well. And I feel like inside the bubble, I think a lot of us look at this card and are like, damn, this is a good card. Top to bottom, it's loaded. You look at some of the names on the prelims, you know what I mean? Oh, my God, look at all the names. But outside of the bubble, the casual fan, the person that it's like they're being. I've literally had people like, "Oh, this card kind of sucks, huh?" And I'm like, "Well, no, it doesn't actually." You know what I mean? It's but it's a flyweight title fight with a guy from Japan that most people don't know. I don't think that. I don't think that Shavkat and Ian Gary are over with the casual fans yet. You know what I mean? As impressive as their record is, as much as on. As meaningful as this fight is, I don't think they've resonated with the casual fan just yet. So I'm just curious where you lie because I think this card is pretty damn good. I'm excited to get back on Saturday and go to this fight. I think it's a damn good card, but I feel like it's either people are like, this card is awesome or this card sucks.
I think it's a good card. I think it's just after New York. I think, even though this is the end of the year card, you just don't see a lot of people in Vegas. I think people are it's getting near the end of the year. Christmas is around the corner. People are saving their dollars perhaps. But when you look on the card, I think it's a good card. Even just, they brought the top 3 fights to the press conference today. There's a lot of really good outside of obviously the title match. The Machado Rachmanov fight, that's literally
fight.
The contender fight, the Gane and Volkov is another fight that's trying to be in that contender. It is pretty much a contender fight. Both of those are, possible fights for whoever's going to be the championship. Again, we talked about that before, I think Gane would be the more exciting fight, should have to go to Aspinall or whatever. But look at Bryce Mitchell coming back. Ice Cream Cone Gracie's come back, that should be an interesting one. Who doesn't like?
I want to point out real quick. I don't want to bring the whole meeting. Did you feel like Cone Gracie was just a lot more relaxed and at ease this week?
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? In the past, I felt like he was kind of
he'd been smoking a lot of weed or something. He's so relaxed.
But
he's so super chill.
Did in the past, he felt kind of standoffish, almost like he was angry. Dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. At the Apex, he was literally like, "What's going on, man?" And I'm like, You're saying what's up to me? What? Crone's chilling? And then I watched his media day interview.
He was very full of him. He was very full of himself. I think when we first saw him, he's been humbled and much more like just like chill. But yeah,
I liked
it's
him a
like
lot more.
a complete 180. Oh yeah, I agree. I do too. I thought it was a complete 180 from when we first saw him. Not that it was ever like unbearable,
No.
but he was just very boisterous and just very like, I come for the Grace from the Gracie lineage.
Yeah.
You know, like
It felt tense.
you should know my name. You know, yeah. Should I ruin the story for you and tell you who won Personality of the Year, or do you want to save it till you watch it later on?
No, tell me.
Nina
Nina Drama won
Beat out
personality,
Rogan.
beat out Rogan.
beat out Rogan.
Wow.
Fixed.
No, it's
Fixed.
not fixed. It's absolutely not
No,
fixed.
it isn't. It's just a ginormous fucking popularity. How do you put those fucking ginormous, lovely assets against Rogan or the other guys? You know, like it was a no. It was
I
a
actually did not. I did
no-brainer.
not know. There's a handful of categories I knew the winners. For instance, well, it won't be up. I mean,
I didn't realize she was even in the running until I
Yeah.
looked at the nominees like yesterday. I was like, holy cow, Nina Marie,
Dina
whatever.
Marie Danielle is her full name, but she asked to be.
Okay.
I know she wants to just be known as Nina Drama, like because that's her
Nina
her
Drama.
stage name. But I did not know
I
that.
mean, she's funny. She's obviously very attractive. But yeah, she won.
World
I mean,
MMA
like,
unseated Joe Rogan.
yeah, I mean, when you think about the male viewership is a large portion, I think it's about time that they stopped bro hugging Rogan and then got somebody new. So
Wow,
maybe
that's
this starts
big.
the drama run.
Wow. Wow, look at that. That's amazing. Well, shoot. Now, as soon as we get done, I'm going to watch the awards. I'm anxious to see it all come together. Like I said, I'm bummed.
It's going very fast. It's like very fast paced. Like granted, it's been going for an hour, but every time I look over, I'm like, I feel like they're chugging through categories.
Look, I'm telling you, they get it. They hear the feedback. That they understand. Nobody wants to watch an 11-hour MMA broadcast. They get it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Or an 11-hour media day. We were there for almost 7 hours. I was in that building for 7 hours. We got in at 9 a.m. and I didn't leave till like 5 p.m.
Wow.
or whatever.
It's a long day.
4 or 5.
Hey,
Dude,
but not hey,
it was after 4.
but hey, look, it's basically winter break now, right? Because you're not going to Tampa, right?
Nope.
And then
Nope.
what's our next one? January 14th or something?
January. And I'm not doing I shouldn't be. I told him I didn't want to do the January one, so yeah. Yeah. Winter break.
Like that? Wow, man, that's crazy.
Break. Still doing remote work, but yeah, winter break. This sport takes no time off.
Well,
and that's a good thing. I mean, as much as we like it, but I mean, like those Vegas runs that we had were like 3 or 4 weeks in a row of like events, and that's not even counting when we had the 10 weeks of Contender that
Contender
often
series.
ran into a UFC event. It's brutal. I mean, I was thinking about how many days out of the year I'm on site. Not just even like the road ones, because the road work is like the smallest portion what I do, but just on site in Vegas. It's crazy. It's like 100 and it's in the 100 some days or whatever on site.
That's
I
crazy.
spent a third of the year on site for the US doing UFC shit.
That's crazy, man. That's crazy. I was right there with you. I was right there with you for a long time, man. But you're still grinding away,
That's
man.
crazy. Well, eventually, when I have my heart attack, it'll be at the apex more than likely.
Oh, don't say that, because it'll probably happen to one of us. We're both getting old. It'll probably happen to us at some time.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's what's best part, because I have like accident insurance. I told my family I'm worth more than if I have a death accident at work than if I don't. So they're like, yeah, can you please work
Just
more,
make sure it
work
happens
more."
while you're at work, please.
while I'm at work.
That's fun.
But yeah, but no, it's a great thing. Like we said, we don't really have a lot of big breaks. So yeah, this time off after this will be nice. But then it comes back hard and heavy, because I think once we get back into, is it February or one of the other ones? There's another
March has like 3 events in a
or
row.
4 weeks in a row. That's the one, March, where there's like 3 a row. It's like
March.
Here we go again.
I'm just preemptively telling you now. I believe it's being called UFC Fight Night 254. Is on March 15th, my birthday at the Apex. I plan on being there and maybe having a cocktail or two. I think.
But not working, or just
definitely
going
not
to
working.
the event.
Definitely not working. That's my birthday. Definitely not working. Definitely not working. All right, give us we won't break down UFC 310. We'll leave that to some of the other programs out there. We just like to take you with our stories behind the scenes and have some fun. But let me just ask you, give us the picks update. Like, I mean, we're coming down to the nitty gritty. Are we tied going in? What's the status?
We're tied, and I think she picked the exact same ones, which means
you're forced to tie.
If I have to double check it, we'll be we'll have one more event, and it'll come down to that last event. The Colby Covington fight, because that's the last of the year, right?
That is the last of the year.
That Tampa one, that'll be the last event. But yeah, I think we both picked the same picks for this one. So unless something happens and somebody from the lower card gets moved up, and then I'm not quite sure what our picks were on that one. We're gonna go into the final week of the year, the final event of the year, tied. At this point, I'd be happy tying and just like get my three-peat. And then be co-champion and let Fard take it, But again, if she wins, I'll be happy for her. It'd be a new champ, but
I would say
it would suck to make it this far and not get it.
That's what I was gonna say. Like I was saying, because I don't think in all the years that we've been doing it, because I think we started doing picks in like 2010 maybe or something like that, if I recall right. I know maybe it was after that. No, it was probably 2012 because USA Today, Gannett purchased MMA Junkie in 2011. I think we started in 2012 because Dan Stupp and I actually never wanted to do picks because we just didn't want to have to like put that out there. We always wanted to remain neutral. And then USA Today, once they purchased us, they were like, "No, you jackasses are doing picks, so let's get it." So I think we started in 2012, but I don't think we ever had a tie, right? I mean, you've been around for a long part of that.
We've never had a tie.
So I don't think we have a tiebreaker in place. But I would almost say that, yeah, if you go all the way to the end, because by the end, I mean, I think it ends up being like 400 or 500 picks or something like that a year, something like that.
Yeah, at least like 300.
Yeah, 300
something or something. Because
if you're tied at that point, I don't think you got to look for a tiebreaker, right? Like just call it co-champs.
Just let it go. Because then nobody's going to be happy. Because like if we don't have something in place and you try to find something to just be the weird tiebreaker, like, oh well, I went back and counted your overall record on your prelim picks.
Yeah, something like that.
Like, even if we never established, I'd be like, no, just give us co-champs.
Yeah, co-champs.
Like, is it too hard to make like two little trophy icons? Or do you just not want to give me my 3-time championship? Like,
do you differentiate? Do you make it like championship? Do you make it like silver, or do you like or does it have to have like a maybe like a silver base to the trophy or something, like it's gold
because it's tied, or because it's the third one?
No, because it's a tie. Like, does the trophy have to look a little different since it's a co-champ?
Asterisk on the trophy.
Yeah, a little asterisk on the trophy or whatever.
Now, it kind of crept up on some people, but I know we're about to wrap. Did you know that the 311, they're sneaking in the 311 press conference tomorrow as well, right?
Oh, yeah. But do what? I mean,
see, most people it flew under the radar because they didn't even announce it. They just said yesterday, or it was on the press thing, UFC 311 press event. No names, no whatever. But we found out today, so those of you that are, by the time you're listening to this,
you might be watching it.
It'll happen later on in the day, or it might be happening. But yeah, it's going to have Umar Nurmagomedov's going to be there, Merab's going to be there, Islam's going to be there, and Arman Sarukian are going to be there.
Look, by the way.
And like today, maybe Dana will be there.
Maybe Dana will be there, maybe he won't. We'll find out. Yeah, that is a big precedent. I will say this. I'm happy that Merab and Usman is the fight that came together. Like, I understand, like, again, I'm a big Merab Dvalishvili fan, and so, I understood his right to kind of maybe posture and call for certain situations or call for other fights that maybe he thinks would be more financially beneficial for him. A lot of people are just like, well, he doesn't think he can beat Umar. No, I think he can beat Umar. I think that's going to be a hell of a fight. But to be honest with you, like, even if O'Malley was healthy, even if Jan is ready to go. Like, I respect all those, that you want those fights, but this is the fight I wanted. This is the best fight you can make at bantamweight right now. It's the best one.
Yeah, it's legit. It's the real deal.
I love it. So good.
Now you got me so worried about the Tampa event. I'm already starting to think ahead about.
You're already breaking it down. You're already looking at the main card. You're like, I got to get off. I got to stop watching some tape right now. I got to break down some.
I mean, what's your lean right now? I mean, if just between Colby and Joaquin Buckley, where are you leaning right now?
Probably Colby.
Right? But I'm like, I feel like we haven't seen the guy fight in like 15 years.
I know.
Like, where's he been?
I know. It's just when you think of.
Oh, my God.
What is the line on that?
Buckley is fighting so good right now.
That is true, though.
Buckley is like fighting better than ever. And I'm like, can he keep it standing? If it stays standing, he's going to piece up
Oh, yeah.
Colby.
Oh, my God.
He's going to destroy him.
Buckley is a minus 245 favorite. Okay.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
dude,
dude,
and like I said,
he's fighting on such a good level right now, man.
was-
I'm torn on that one right now. I don't know. I think if you would have asked us last year or asked us at the beginning of this year when we thought we'd maybe see Colby or something, it's Colby all day.
Right.
It's Colby all day. But, man, Buckley has been fighting so good, man. I'm so torn on this fight.
It's a good fight.
Now I'm going to be stressing about it because if we go in, since it's tied, how we've done this in the past is they don't make our picks public.
Right.
If you're in the running for it. So I think Mike's like 5 behind us or something like that. So I'm sure that he might put like
technically he would be in the running.
He'd be in the running. So me, Farah, and him, they won't make our picks public when we go back to the thing. We don't have to reply to the public thread or our channel thread of our picks. I don't know where she's gonna lean, and I'm already starting to think about the event too much, and I don't know where I'm gonna go, just for the fact of how good Buckley is looking. But man, my head tells
Honestly,
me
the more I think about it,
that it should be Colby.
the more I think about it, like I like the case you're making with Buckley, and you're right. But I mean, you just asked me, and I hadn't given 2 seconds to thought about it. But you just the first name off the top of my head when I think about it is Covington. You just think about his grappling game. You think about his cardio.
His grappling.
You think about
He's
his experience.
so dominant. Oh, and his cardio is incredible.
Yep.
Man, there's the questions because we haven't seen him. We haven't seen him like chirping. It's like I think I saw a video somewhere, and he like played it kind of straight. And I remember somebody was like, "Is the stick done?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "If that's the case, then this is like a deflated Colby." I'm like,
or maybe it's a focused Colby that's like, all right, I'm done with the stick now. I ain't got time for this anymore. Now I'm, like I don't know.
I ain't got time for all you virgins and nerds. I got a fight on my hands.
Just kidding. I don't really think you're all that nerdy, and I'm sure you've had sex.
Oh, if he ever said that, I'm like, oh, he's broke. He's broke. He's eventually broke.
Oh, that's great, man. All right, well, listen, I know that.
But no, I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to tomorrow's event. It should be good. I think people. I mean, it's tough. It's tough at the end of the year, like to ask people to expect them to pay for this one because you got end of the year stuff coming up. But it is a good card. It is a good card. I mean, when you go through the list of this card, man, there's some really, really good names on it. So I think people should watch it.
You know what's funny?
We're going to be watching it.
It's just,
so everybody should watch it.
Everybody should be. I will be there. I fly back on Saturday, so I think I'll be there in time for the first fight. I may be a little bit late, but I'll be there on Saturday. But I'll tell you what's funny. I flew in. Me and Justin James had separate flights, but we only landed like 15 minutes apart from each other, and so I went to meet him at his gate. And the flight that he was flying in on was turning right around and going back to Vegas. And somebody, while I was waiting for Justin, came up to me and they were like, "Hey, I recognize you. Like, what are you doing here?" And I was talking to him. I'm like, "Well, what are you doing?" He's like, "I'm flying to Vegas for the fight." So I thought that was kind of cool. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
Yeah, somebody was here in St. Louis. They're like, yeah, we're going to Vegas for the fight. So they were like pretty excited about it. So that was kind of cool to see. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's awesome.
All right, listen. Yeah, we got a lot to do. I'm gonna go watch the rest of the World MMA Awards. I'll probably start from the beginning, so I'll watch the whole thing. So check that out if you can. Obviously, if you're around on Friday and you do want to watch some CFFC match day, if you haven't given NCAA wrestling a try, give us a shot. Myself and Justin James will be definitely enjoying it. And like I said, it is Iowa. It is wrestling royalty. And then of course, UFC 310. I'll be there for that. We'll have the and a half episode over at the, patreon.com/MMA Roadshow. Always appreciate everybody that supports us over there. Quick shout out to my kid. I was able to keep the distraction aside for an hour, but he tweaked his back a little bit in jiu-jitsu, and I'll give him credit, man. He's not a wuss, and he actually called me right before we got started and is feeling pretty bad. So hopefully he's all good. So I just want to give him a quick shout since he doesn't listen all the time, but he listens sometimes. And since apparently he may be laying in bed for a little while, he might be listening. So sending positive vibes to my son's way for sure.
Yes, get well, Eli.
Absolutely.
Get well.
And for everybody
My
else.
little Korean barbecue buddy.
Oh, he did. Yeah, we had to wait. That was James did it to us again. Did it to us again, bro.
Yeah.
we wouldn't even
That was
go
good
to,
shit.
It was fun. We had a good time, man. The four of us. It was a good boys' night out, man. And we the Korean barbecue
Yes.
was on, and so shout out to Eli. For everybody else, thanks for listening.